Whenever we are dealing with highly processed food, we are talking about a lot of trans fat, foodstuffs fried in oil that has been reheated several times, and that is a problem. Anything that is pre-packaged in a plastic container, unless there is no other way, that would be something to avoid, especially in children.
For parenting tips, celebrity interviews, recipes, conversations with experts, DIYs, and lots more. Subscribe to Kids Talk Press now. We probably don't realize what an important role neuroscience and mental health play in our daily lives and affect our productivity, efficiency, and overall well being. Dr. Sid Warrier is a neurologist, public speaker, content creator, author. He's all about making neuroscience easy to chat about, smashing the stigma around mental health, and getting folks talking about mindfulness, learning, and changing behavior. Today, we will be talking to Dr. Sid about the effects of science, mental health, our eating habits, and how humans behave and why we behave the way we behave. He's spoken a lot on neuroscience, but he will need to make it a child's play in today's episode. Because if he doesn't make it as simple as ABC, then of course parents can't implement it. Welcome, Dr. Sid.
Thank you for having me.
You've obviously spoken a lot about food and its impact on the brain. Tell me more about what is the impact? And the second is what foods are causing that level of impact. And the third is how do we make the correction that the wrong is eliminated?
Let's talk about the wrong first.
Yeah.
Because I think that is far more important than the right.
Right.
Because our body has evolved to deal with a wide range of foods, right? But all of them made in a particular way. So the wrong is more important, and the wrong I would say is highly processed food. That would be the main thing, because whenever we are dealing with highly processed food, we are talking about a lot of trans fat, foodstuffs fried in oil that has been reheated several times, and that is a problem. Right. So that leads to downstream effects in your body. That leads to increased free radicals. There are several downstream effects of that. Yeah. A good rule of thumb, I would say, is anything that is pre-packaged in a plastic container, unless there is no other way, that would be something to avoid, especially in children. So because that becomes the food that then our gut bacteria get used to. That is what we consider as baseline then, and that downstream will lead to more chances of binge eating. That is a flow chart as I see it. Anything that you're eating which is cooked fresh, right? And by fresh, I mean even that day. I know that a lot of working parents will cook in the morning. They'll use that food I would still think that is okay because of modern refrigeration. I think that's the quality of the food is still maintained.
Yeah.
But prepackaged foods, while there is more and more evidence coming out, I would say that I would recommend erring on the side of caution and going for as much fresh foods as possible. That could be fruits, that could be freshly made vegetables. I wouldn't go more into what kind of diet should you follow.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own reasons for doing this, but this is one thing that I feel pretty strongly about.
Right. And again, when we're speaking of sugar and its impact, we don't what really happens in terms of, and that kind of causes that addiction. And it's a silent addiction which you don't realize, right? Like you're watching something and you'll be like, I need to order this. Okay. Like what's that connection that's happening, and how can you train yourself to break that chain? Like, okay, I'm seeing this as a video right now, and I feel like ordering it immediately.
Yeah.
And that's what your brain is feeling like, shit, I'm craving this. Like, what's the science to that and the stop?
There is one network that everyone should know about in the brain. So in the brainstem, which is one of the most primitive parts of your brain, is around your neck. There's a part called as the midbrain.
Yeah.
And from there, a chemical called dopamine is released, right? And dopamine goes all over the brain.
Yeah.
And at different levels of the brain, it has different actions. So in the limbic system is an area called nucleus accumbens, again a very primitive part, and that is the part that deals with emotions. So the nucleus accumbens is very sensitive to dopamine. So whenever there is dopamine and it goes to nucleus accumbens, it makes you happy. You get pleasure out of that. And because it is so sensitive and because it feels good, our brain figured out that let me attach this network to anything that is evolutionarily good for me.
Right.
So eating a high calorie diet, dopamine attaches to nucleus accumbens, you feel good. You take a risk and it works out. That is good for evolution. Now, unfortunately, it's one thing to do these things in the jungle, but back in the day when we were, monkeys. But now, in our modern world where you can order food in 5 minutes, you can order a cake, you can order ice cream, you can go to a casino and you can gamble, the same things are now activating that network.
Right.
And you're getting pleasure out of things that earlier never existed.
Right.
So this is the loop of addiction.
Right.
All addiction acts on this same network.
Right.
Now the issue is that once your self-control drops, and there's another network for that, which is based on a chemical called serotonin.
Yeah.
So serotonin is like dopamine's elder brother. So if there is serotonin, it can calm the dopamine network down and say, relax, it's fine, you don't need to do this. But if serotonin levels are low, your threshold for activating that dopamine network goes down.
Yeah.
So you will crave that dopamine spike more easily.
Right.
Now, one of the times when serotonin is low is at night.
Yeah.
When you're supposed to be sleeping, but
Yeah.
you're not,
Yeah.
at 2 a.m., serotonin levels are low. That is the time when you will feel like binge eating. You'll feel like
Mindlessness.
Yes, mindlessness. Let me watch Netflix. Let me do
Yeah.
anything that makes me feel good in this moment.
Yeah.
Right? So that sense of recklessness comes in that moment.
Right.
And once you are reckless, you will reach out to the closest or easiest available source of dopamine, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And most of the times it's food.
Got it.
The other things that can make you feel good is human contact, hanging out with friends, laughter, all of that. But there is more resistance to that. It's
Yeah.
not easily
It's not
available.
easily available.
Food is right there.
Right.
Right? It's in your pocket, it's in your kitchen. Just reach out and you've solved for that problem.
Right.
That is why binge eating happens.
For parenting tips, celebrity interviews, recipes, conversations with experts, DIYs, and lots more. Subscribe to Kids Talk Press now.